There we go. All right. Well, hello to all of you who have joined us today, and to anyone who might be watching the replay or is watching us live that we're doing today for the first time. So hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jessica Korff, and I own Fleur Photography. What we mostly focus on here is headshots and branding, as well as the recently launched Women in Business magazine, REfashiond, which is where you're seeing this right now. The goal really is about support and growth and visibility, and also education for local women in business. You know, in our current situation, the layout of how business is being run really has very much so changed. Even as we open up, I think it's going to continue to be an unfolding of this whole different way of doing things. And in order to continue serving, I created the Meet series, which is where we're interviewing other local business owners who are taking this time, they're diving in, they're getting creative, and they're making an impact, or they have expertise that can help guide the rest of us through these uncertain times, like Lisa. For the many of us who are the parents, as we're also trying to run businesses right now. So today I have Lisa Nutt. She's a serial and social entrepreneur and box defier, as we talked about earlier. Welcome, Lisa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. This is great. Really excited to do it today.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. It always is when Lisa's involved.
That's a requirement.
Yes. Tell us a little bit more about you and what you do, like your personal life and, of course, what you do in business.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I am a serial and social entrepreneur. So this is the third time I'm in business for myself. I am a realtor with Keller Williams, Southern Arizona. It's how Haley and I know each other. She is an important support to me on the realtor side of my life with my lending team there at Nova Home Loans. So I do that and have owned a restaurant in the past, right? So I'm really empathizing with our restaurant owners during this time in terms of just knowing how hard it is to successfully own and run a restaurant, for example, and how your occupancy is a really important part of you financially being able to make a go of it, right? So in the context of occupancy being redefined right now, certainly, and maybe even into the future, right? And I also owned a different business. I owned a specialty retail store in town about 10 years ago that I actually lost during the Great Recession. So that business I had launched in late 2006 and was able to hold on to it until late 2009, but ultimately lost it all, right? I am now a proud mama to two precious boys that we successfully got through homeschooling just last week, right? Hallelujah. Got that done. I'm an educator too by background, right? Like I've taught in colleges and universities for about 15 years, but just like I told my children, I teach adults, right? I don't teach little kids, and certainly not children who also needed help figuring out their Zoom technical issues and not panicking if the Wi-Fi signal was weakening, or, all of the troubleshooting that needed to happen on a daily basis with two children, two different devices, two different schedules, right? All of it. So we managed to successfully get through that. I call myself a bona fide border brat, right? I'm originally from Douglas, Arizona. So I'm an Arizona native, a Southern Arizona native, because oftentimes the question in Tucson and Arizona is, where are you from, right? Because so many of us come from different places. And so Douglas is where I was born and raised, but Tucson has been home, really. I did live back east for 5 years and came back. So after the recession, and I had lost everything and didn't know what I was going to do, I was actually recruited to go work at a private university in the Pittsburgh area. And I lived there for 5 years. And that is where I adopted my children. And then once our adoption was done, I just said, I have really no reason to be here. And I moved back to Tucson in order for my children to grow up in the context of our extended family. So that's how I come back to Tucson. So my life has been curvilinear, right? Has not been a straight path. I don't comfortably fit in any kind of box, really. It all started with Jessica asking me, what do you want me to, and so that's why I settled on serial and social entrepreneur, because that is an aspect of who I am. And it's usually easily understood, right? Because we want to categorize people, right? We want to have a quick and easy way of understanding context. Sometimes that's possible and sometimes it's not.
Perfect, thank you. I love the word curvilinear.
Yeah, right?
It's a great word. Okay, so what's your situation right now? How has the pandemic affected your businesses?
Yeah. So on the real estate side, it came to a halt, right? All of my clients spooked, right? Decided to wait until they had more clarity about their personal situations, right? Because that's the other part of this, is that it's a very dynamic situation, almost on a daily basis. Certainly new information is emerging or new decisions are made. And so they have all been waiting to understand what their situation is. Because, it's the largest financial transaction they're going to make, at least for a while, right? And especially in the case of, for example, first-time home buyers, and really for any client, buying and selling a home is an emotional process in addition to being a financial process, right? So there's lots of feelings, lots of memories, lots of other components to the decision and to the situation. So it's not just one thing. And so part of how it influenced that part of my life was because I communicate with my clients, certainly, and potential clients on a pretty regular basis. And I wanted to continue to do so, but not as a realtor, right? But as a person, as someone who was interested in them and how they were doing. And so one of the things I decided to do was I started to, normally when I send out like my regular email blast, I do it on Tuesdays. That's a practice I've done for many, many, many years. But I decided to switch it to Wednesdays, and I started calling them Be Well Wednesdays. And so in my Be Well Wednesday messages, it's really just been information and suggestions on helping people be well, right? Because that's another way I sign off, is to be well. And so that is how I have maintained the conversation with my clients, right? And the connection, and to just let them know I'm going through this too, right? And we are here for each other, right? Because one of the other aspects of this pandemic has been, despite technology, there's still a sense of isolation, right? We're still like, I can't feel your vibe, Jess, right? I mean, I see you, right? But I can't feel you, right? Yes. And so it's partly why we're zoomed out and all of that, right? So maintaining the connection, maintaining the touch, right? But in a way that is responsive to the moment we find ourselves in, right? And so that has been my suggestion to every other business person, right? Is, are you still in contact with your clients, right? Or your current clients? And if so, how, right? Because I also called every single one of my former clients and just wanted to let them know I was thinking about them, hoping they were well, letting me know if they needed anything. And every single one of them, of course, appreciated the phone call, right? And so how are we doing that as business people, right? How are we maintaining that contact, that touch, in a way that, again, is responsive and reflective of who we are, our business, and how we want to do business, right? And so I know, and I'm confident that will, come back along, because I've maintained my contact with my clients, right? So I'm not forgetting about them. They're not forgetting about me, right? But then the other thing this pandemic did was really kind of shine a light on how I needed to make sure I was parenting my children in a way that was responsive to them during this time. And it wasn't like I could just ask my mom. So when I was growing up and the pandemic happened, right?
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things I said to my mom was, sorry, Mama, but there is absolutely zero in your life history that helps me right now, right? Because we just haven't experienced this as a society, right? And so the examples and the models that we have, we're kind of piecing together, but not because we've actually had anything similar happen, right?
Right.
So that became an important part of how to use this time, was how am I making sure that my children can navigate and negotiate this successfully as well. And although they will not ever forget, right, March, April, and May of 2020, those, I say that there are some events and some people who leave indelible marks on our soul, right? This will leave an indelible mark on our soul. And so how to not only support myself through this, but also making sure that I was supporting them and continue to support them in a way that is meaningful and responsive to them. Because I remember one of the first fears my youngest expressed was, he said to me, he said, Mama, I don't know, I'm scared, I'm afraid I'm not going to be ready for third grade, right? Because he was in second grade and we had to switch all this stuff. And wow, yeah, you're going to be just fine, bud. Right? But it doesn't feel that way to him, right? And also the difference in, he was only doing 1 Zoom a day, and my oldest was having 4 Zooms a day, for example. And so then him feeling left out or anxious about that, right? And of course, both of them being really upset about not being able to see their classmates or their teachers, right? Yeah. And even if they saw them, they can't have their own conversation with them, right? Because that's not what the purpose of the meeting is. And all the frustration that creates, right? But they don't know that that's what they're feeling. So their emotional vocabulary has grown so much in these last 2 months, right? Like they will now say, I'm frustrated, right? Or it cracks me up, they will say, I need you to be more mindful. Because of course they hear their mama saying, somebody needs to be more mindful, right? My oldest has been meditating every night for the last 2 months. I upped my meditation practice from just at night to in the morning first thing and at night before I go to bed, right? My youngest asked me if I would do yoga with him. And so I found yoga poses that we could do together, right? And so we're trying to figure out if it's best in the morning or best at night before we go to bed, right? So figuring out the different tools, tactics, and techniques that work for you, right? And then work for you as a family or work for you as an organization, right? But all of that requires honesty, right? Being truthful with yourself about what you are feeling, what you are needing, and then setting about seeking those resources so that you can continue to move forward.
Yeah. I think that's great. When we talked about this idea, I thought it was so perfect because as business owners, things are already hard to kind of figure out how to go now anyways. And I am the oldest of 6, by the way. I don't know why that was coming up, but I have 4 of my own at home with very different personalities. And I know some of them are quite extroverted, and this is killing them. And the
Yeah.
youngest is 5, and like you said, there's no words for it, but it's frustrating, and she gets more upset about things, and she's not allowed to go out and do what she wants to do. So I just think it's a great topic to cover.
For sure. And again, like taking the time, and for me, it's a daily balancing act, right? In terms of how much do I stick to kind of routine and the structure, right? Because especially children, right, thrive. That's often why they love school, right? Because school is so predictable, right? They can predict with 100% accuracy what's going to happen, right? And that is how we live our lives, right? Like for us, there is a rhythm and a routine to our life. And that continues. But for me, it has been a daily balancing act or exploration of how much more slack am I going to give these dudes today? Right? Because just yesterday I said to my mom, my children literally since March 17th have only been here at home and at her house in very fair situations, right? Like that is it. Those are the only 2 places. And they had not left the house for 3 weeks solid. So when we got in the car, they said, Mama, we almost forgot what to do with our car seats, right? Because they hadn't been in the car for 3 weeks. And so how just the day-to-day, and we have the benefit of having a big backyard and a pool and 2 dogs and games and board games and devices and books and coloring books and workbooks and puzzles and, you know, all of these things to help manage our time, our energy, right? But still, it's not enough. It's not enough. They still need support. They still need help. My youngest, you know, finally stopped asking when he can do golf again, right? Because he was taking golfing lessons. And, you know, honey, I promise you, I do not have that information. I don't know. My oldest was in swim lessons, right? Mama, when am I gonna, honey, I do not know. I don't have that information, right? So the powerlessness of that, right? Because those decisions aren't mine right now. Others are making those decisions, and with information, like I said, changing daily, when and how those decisions will be made. You know, I don't know if this is happening with any of you, but you know, anytime I am going out, the only time I'm really venturing out is to shop, right, for groceries and things. And I am wearing a mask when I go to shop. I'm not wearing gloves, but I am wearing a mask. And inevitably, someone has a comment, right? Someone has something to say about it. And so now, not even a daily activity of going about your business to go get your shopping done, right, can just be that, it seems. Because of all of this frustration, right? Because of this anxiety, because of this unprecedented place we find ourselves. And so this was the other part for me, was that I decided to get very intentional and dive really deep into the fears and insecurities that it was bubbling up in for me, right? As I said, I lost everything materially, obviously, in the recession, in the Great Recession, right? Now, the other thing I know about loss is that it is riddled with blessings and gifts, right? So, but for me losing everything, right, in 2009, I wouldn't have been recruited to Pittsburgh, right, and to go work at Robert Morris University, a place I had not even visited until I went to interview, right? Decided, and I accepted the job because I had literally nothing keeping me here in Tucson. I had applied for 400 jobs. I had not heard back from anyone. I have an MBA. At that point, I had 15 years experience, right? None of it mattered. I was one of millions of people, right? So I seized the opportunity to move across the country where I know no one, have nothing, no connection to the place, right? So there I learn I bloom where I'm planted, right? I built my life from scratch and decide that I have wanted to be a parent for a good 10 years by now. And, you know, the luckiest man in the world hadn't appeared yet. And so I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to adopt. So then that's its own journey, right? Private adoption, adoption from the foster care system, one child, sibling group, right? Like all of that. So for me, what made the most sense was adopting a sibling group from the foster care system, right? There's 500,000 children in the US in the foster care system. And that was a 3-year journey, right? Beginning with the certification, and then you go through what's called the matching process. I actually had a young girl placed with me, and that was called a failed placement. And that was one of the most anguishing and heart-wrenching experiences of my life. And I didn't know if I could do it again. I didn't know if I could stay in the matching process, because there's elements that are out of your control too, including social workers who are biased against you, right? Because within that system, the ideal placement is with a married, heterosexual, white couple. Well, I am a Hispanic, Mexican-American, single woman, not married, wanting to parent, right? So I am less than ideal. And there's nothing you can do about that. And just when I was going to give up, I surrendered, because that was something I had to learn to do. I surrendered and left it in what I call my divine source's hands. And 2 weeks later, my social worker emailed me and she said, there's these 2 brothers. Would you be interested in meeting them? We know virtually nothing about them. And I said, sure. And so they're in that chapter, right? So, and they are my greatest blessing. So, but for all of the other things having happened, right, I don't have my children, right? So that was the other thing that I was mindful of during this time, right, was with loss comes gain, right? So what do I gain from this? And so I wanted to get clear, right? Just get crystal clear on purpose, right? On what is my purpose? How do I continue to move forward? And so looking at those fears and insecurities, and especially at my issues around control, because so much of this is out of my control. I'm not calling lockdowns, and I'm not saying opening ups, and I'm not, right? I'm limited to the influence I wield on my household, and that's kind of the extent of it all right now, yeah? So how do I do that, and do that in a healthful way, a positive way? And again, in the context of being a parent, I don't want to add stuff to my children's, to my children's stuff. And so again, right, I started my Be Well Wednesdays, right, and that kind of messaging to my people, but also just seeking and sharing other ways to support myself, and then I thought to support others. And so I used mantras, right, have for many, many years. And so one of my mantras has always been love and light, love and light, love and light, love and light. In fact, my brother makes fun of me for it, and my other mantra has been, and especially when I'm feeling anxious or needing like an immediate sense of, is ease and grace, ease and grace, ease and grace, ease and grace. so that I don't make things any more difficult than they need to be, right? But I combined them all and started wishing people much love, light, ease, and grace. And then I thought, well, it seems to me that all of us could use more love, light, ease, and grace. I know I don't have enough, right? I can cultivate, right? Cultivate and incorporate more love, more light, more ease, and more grace. So how do I do that? How do I not only manifest that for myself, but how do I share that, right? And so I landed on deciding to do a podcast. And so the Love, Light, Ease, and Grace podcast will be debuting very soon. I was hoping it would debut today, but other things that are out of my control are some technological things, some graphic design things. I did record my first guest though, and I'm really excited to share her. And so the pillars of the podcast are that: love, light, ease, and grace. So there will be guests related to how to, right, incorporate and cultivate more love in your life, how to incorporate, more light, because there is darkness, irrespective of what is happening, right? And so one of my favorite quotes around light is that you are either the candle or the mirror reflecting it, right? And so who are those candles, right? And at times I am, right? At times each of us is a candle. So when is it that we are the candle bringing light to the darkness? And when is it that we are that mirror reflecting that light, right? Because we all have that power within us, right? We needn't surrender it to others. It doesn't need to happen out there, right? It absolutely has the power to happen right here. And then ease, right? I know as women, my gosh, the messaging that we have and often grow up in and get bombarded by, right, often leads to feelings of just not being enough, right? And it not being good enough and me not doing it well enough and, right, blah, blah, blah. And so, hold on, right? I know I have done that work for, gosh, a good 20 years. And it still came up, right? Because worth and money and finances and productivity, right, all mesh together. And so again, how do you get clear on all of that and still remain, right, walking in ease? And of course, grace. I know self-compassion has been something that I have needed to practice a lot more over time. And this time is no exception, right? Really extending to myself the compassion that I so readily afford others, right? And asking for, I mean, we're all, Zooming and things are happening in our environments that we can't always control, and that being just fine, just fine. So the Love, Light, Ease, and Grace podcast, there's also lines of merchandise that will be coming up. So that will be one of the prizes for you. There will be t-shirts and hats and bags and cups. I do jewelry design as something by fun, so I'm trying to figure out a jewelry aspect to it. And there will be a grant making program that I'll launch too, because the proceeds from the sales of the merchandise will go to fund the grant program. And the intention of the name of the grant program is Make Every Minute Count. Because of course, if you didn't know, we have 1,440 minutes a day. We are gifted, right? 1,440 minutes a day. So the goal is to raise $1,440 a day in order for, at the end of each week, for there to be $10,080 that we can gift to individuals and organizations. Part of my background includes having worked at the United for several years. So I bring that part of my gigs now. So really excited to launch the podcast, the merchandise, the grant making program. The website is lovelighteaseandgrace.com, but it is being developed. So stay tuned for more information on that. Because again, it all comes down to this all being borrowed time, right? This is all borrowed time, and this is no dress rehearsal. This is it. This is my one shot. And so I want to make sure I make it count, right? I make it count for myself, for my children, for my family, for my community, right? That is how I have peace, is to know I'm doing my best every day. And so those have been the blessings and the gifts and the opportunities that have been afforded during this time. Yeah.
So what's your one biggest piece of advice, if you could give to any parent right now, on how to get through their day?
So breathe, right? I mean, literally breathe. It's funny, I'll often be texting somebody and I can feel the angst, and I will literally just text them, breathe. And then they're like, oh my God, you're right? We hold so much, right? So I'm not being facetious, I'm being honest, breathe, right? And ask yourself this one question, because this is my question to myself, especially in those difficult moments, is what is the loving choice right now? Right? So we have to breathe in order to be able to stop, in order to be able to ask ourselves, what is the loving choice right now? Because it could be the loving choice for me, right? So my children right now are no longer surprised by mama deciding to take a bath at 4:30 in the afternoon. But the first day I did it, they were like, Mama, you're what? I said, Mama is going to take a bath and she's going to do a specific meditation. You guys are hanging out here watching TV, then you're going to get yourselves dinner and you're going to be just fine, right? They were like, yeah, okay, can we have cereal? Sure, right? So, because it was a moment of, okay, what is the loving choice for me right now? Because like I said before, you cannot give what you do not have, right? So I was running out of patience. I was running out of gas. I was running out of steam. I was running out of it all, right? And so, like I said, now my oldest will be like, hey, Mama, are you taking a bath? That they discovered foot soaks, because some other day Mama decided she needed a foot soak, right? Because self-care has become even more important during this time, right? So I said that, I'm meditating twice a day now, and just that whole self-care routine has become really important to me, and what that means and what that feels like. So now they like to get foot soaks too, know what they are. So making sure we are taking care of ourselves so that we can take good care of others, right? And maintain that clarity, because there's a lot to process in any one day, right?
Yeah, for sure. I always love to open it up to the room. Does anybody want to ask Lisa anything? Does Lisa? Do we have any questions for Lisa? And I also have anyone watching live right now on Facebook. I have my phone pulled up. So if you have questions, you can type them in there and I will try to ask Lisa for those as well.
Yes, please.
I have a question, Lisa. This is Kathy Peak.
Kathy.
So, for your boys, what do you think they're gonna, take out of this? Of course, it's just speculation on your part at this point. But have you seen anything in particular, emotionally, philosophically, in reality, that has shifted for them?
I mentioned it before, their emotional vocabulary has grown so much. They have gotten much better at identifying their own feelings, right? Now, as boys who are becoming men, right, that's something that the planet is going to benefit from, right? Like humankind will be better for it, right? And that is something that I've been really mindful of in general is to create that safety for them, right? And what they will tell you, because it's what I tell them, I'm not saying don't have your feelings. I am saying have your feelings, know what they are, so that then you can work yourself through them, right? And so, because oftentimes the message is hide them, tamp them down, bottle them up, even for women, right? Like zip it. We don't want to hear it. Well, I just blubbered, right, on Facebook Live. Now it's recorded for posterity's sake, right? Like, clearly, I'm okay feeling my feelings, right? And I didn't apologize a million times, right? Like, no, that was how I felt, right? Obviously, power. So make it safe for them, and they feel that safety, right? They said they really do now readily understand when they're feeling frustrated, when they're feeling angry, and so giving them the tactics, techniques to work their way, right? So they will say, I'm going outside for a minute, I got to go ride my bike, right? Or we created signs for their doors, because of course as kids, they don't knock on each other's door, right? Like their privacy. So we have these signs, and it says either please come in or please give me space, so that we know that it's fine for us to come in or to give them space. So those are things that, like I said, serve them now and will continue to serve them, right? So for that, I am grateful. And how they help me identify it, right? They'll be like, Mama, are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help you feel better? Right? Thanks, bud. So those are things that, and just the ability to have the conversation, right? I mean, in how many families do they not have the conversation? So we've always recognized the blessings and abundance of our life, and that continues today, right? My favorite thing, of course, is when I hear my children say, Mama, I feel so happy. Mama, I feel so great, right? And they do say that almost every day, even right now, right? Because we can, right? We can cultivate that. We need to be intentional about it, mindful, purposeful about it, creating those little opportunities for it, right? So that, thanks for your question, Kathy. Yeah, that is something that I think is one of the biggest takeaways from all of this. And how they appreciate each other, right? Like they really, they love each other, of course, but they appreciate each other in a different way, especially since they can't spend time with classmates, right? They're kind of like, you're it, right? Like it's us. And so that's also a blessing. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet.
I really love the idea of giving them sort of a note to put on their door, because they really don't have a lot of space to run off to, right? So if they need some time to like just decompress on something, what a great idea. So I think I'm going to take away that one for sure to implement. I appreciate that.
We came up with it together, right? Because they were complaining, right, about you got into my room and the blah, right? So actually what one of them had said was, Mama, I want a stop sign on my door, right? And I said, okay. I said, but how about we make a sign, right? Yeah, make a sign in the bit, right? Because he was mad, of course. And I said, how could we say it in a kind and loving way, right? So then they were like, okay, yeah, how could we? And that's how we came up with the please give me space, right? Because that's something we say. And then the please come in, right? So please come in or please give me space. So incorporating them into the discussion made all the difference, really, because the easiest thing in the world would have been for me to Google a stop sign, print it out, slap it on the door, right? But instead, seizing the opportunity, right, to help them, to empower them, right, to, yeah, there is a different way we could treat each other, right?
Right.
So I find myself saying a lot, show me the good, loving way to, right?
Lisa, I just want to acknowledge you for taking the time to truly parent and to truly listen to your boys and look to not just what's happening now, but look to the future. And who is it that, you know, having a vision for them to be loving, gentle, emotional men that will honor women and honor themselves. And I just find that very, very lovely. And I don't think parents get enough appreciation, certainly from your kids, because even when they grow up, until they have their own kids, I don't think they truly appreciate you. I find my kids now that they have kids appreciate me a whole heck of a lot more and tell me so. But I just don't think we acknowledge each other. And so I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you.
Thank you. Yes. I mean, parenting arguably should be, I don't like to use the word should, no, but I also worked in early education for many years, should be the most conscious choice we make, right? Because yeah, parenting is not for the weak-kneed or the faint-hearted, right?
No.
Like it requires of you every day, right? Every day, because, you know, they're each different human beings, right? And some days one thing will work and the next day it won't, or even the next hour it won't, right? And so that continuous pursuit, right, of, I would say, of, you know, and my children will be the ones who will tell you of what kind of home do you want to have, right? And so then even your children, right, it's not okay for them to treat themselves or each other in a certain way, because that is not the type of home we have, right? So yeah, being clear on that. Thanks, Kathy. And being crystal clear on, you know, when I am saying the men they will become, yes, that is the vision of the men they will become.
I love that. Thank you, Kathy, for saying all of that to her, because I think it's, like you said, we don't acknowledge it enough. I think it's important to hear it. And I hope that anyone listening takes a little bit of that to heart too, as well. Yeah. And I love that. I mean, everything that we're discussing, even about how they can get through this, is there's so much, like you said, empowering. It's giving them some of that power and control back that they don't have either. So as we're all struggling with the uncertainty and the lack of power, and we can't make these decisions, so are they. So giving them a little bit of a feeling like they have some control, like you said, like having a space where they can go, or being able to say, I need space right now, please leave me alone. I think that's such an important piece. I was a preschool teacher for 13 years. So
right.
You know, on top of my own, I remember trying to figure out, like, how do you have a happy classroom even before I had kids, right? Like, so that everyone feels like they have their own space, even though you're sharing the room with 17 kids, and how they can also have their own somewhat of control and power, because it's really what they're looking for too.
Yes.
Lisa, you mentioned that the only places they've been have been at your house, and did you say your mom's house?
Yes.
So that's their grandma?
Yes.
How has that relationship evolved with them and her during this period?
So my mom literally, she lives 5 minutes away from us, right? And she's a huge part of my support, right? That said, she has underlying health issues that we have to be very mindful of in this COVID context, right? So we, of course, have not hugged and kissed, which as Hispanics, right, is almost unheard of. Like, it's counterintuitive, right? Like, so even them, right, it took them a while to be like, mama, I can't hug and kiss you, right? So they're doing elbows and things like that. Yeah, so at this point, they even look forward to going to Nana's, right? Because at least it's not home and it's a ride in the car, right? So that relationship continues to grow, right? It's because, so going back to our family context, so adoption Hispanic culture is very rare, right? So to Jess's comment about me being a box defier, I have defied boxes in many ways, right? And in ways that my family doesn't always understand, right? Like when I moved back east, my family, they were like, "You're going where? Like, we have nobody there. You've never been, like, how, what?" You know? And my answer has always been, last time I checked, it's my life. You know, thanks. Love me or don't love me, support me or don't support me. Like, I love you, and, you know, and that's the decision I'm making. So the same thing with my parenting, right? And my choice to adopt. So that has been an evolving dynamic, I would say, because of the biases, because of the ideas, right? Everything is biased towards your children being biologically yours. So that's not true for us, and it's not true for billions of families, right? Like when there's mixed families of stepchildren or in vitro, or, I mean, you know, there's all kinds of ways that someone's not biologically yours, or kinship care, right? Like they might be in your family, but they're not your immediate children, right? So even, I remember our first pediatrician visit here, the forms did not respond to my family situation, right? And so the first meeting with the pediatrician, she was like, there's information that is missing. And I said, yes, because your forms do not account for my family. What do you mean? And I said, my children are not biologically mine, but they are no less mine. And she had been a pediatrician for 30 years. It was the first time somebody brought it to her attention. Same thing at school, right? So I'm that parent, right? The one who says, yoo-hoo, sorry, your thing doesn't work for us, right? Your whatever is not, right?
And so, good for you.
Well,
good
and
for
so
you,
I'm comfortable engaging in that advocacy, right?
Yeah, you have to.
That thousands, millions of people aren't. Like, I'm not afraid of your system. I'm not afraid of your bureaucracy. I've worked in those systems, in those bureaucracies, right? Like, I will do what I do for my children. Hell yes. Try to stand in my way.
Right.
She's not afraid of those boxes.
Right? So that's another part of it, right?
Sure. Let me ask you, you know, trying to work from home, your multiple businesses at this point, also while you're parenting, of course. So what do you try to always put first when you're prioritizing what time you have?
Myself. So I am up every day between 5 and 5:30 so that I can get my cup of coffee and I can feed the dogs and I can welcome and do my meditation, right? And welcome the day in a way that sets me up for success, right? I use a calendar, obviously, to map out the day, right? With both my professional and my personal obligations, right? So that I have a running list, right, of what's supposed to happen today, and then there's what actually happens, right? So I am flexible and adaptable, right? So I'm able to, on a dime, right, spin it however I need to keep moving forward. But the other thing that I do is that I cue my children to it, right? So my children, even though they're up early, they know not to come out of their rooms until 6:30 a.m. Because as soon as they're out, like, that's it, my time is no longer mine, right? Like, my time and energy is being divided in multiple ways. So that was a system that I instituted, right? Was just, if I am going to get my days started the way I want and need to, I'm going to be up between 5 and 5:30 every single day of the week, Monday through Sunday. There's no exceptions on the weekends or anything like that, which also means that I'm in bed by 9:30 so that I can get 8 hours of sleep, right? And so as an adult, like, okay, then honey, do whatever it is you need to do to make that happen, right? Again, there are exceptions, but you're the boss of you, right? So being up early, the boys know no, not until 6:30. And every now and again, especially my oldest, it'll be like 6:20 and he'll come, buenos dias, mama. No. And I'll say, honey, what's the time? Oh, okay, mama. Right? So being firm on those boundaries, right? Like, yeah, it's 10 minutes, but no, this is how we get into a slippery slope. This is how it turns into a thing with your brother. This is how this becomes something else I have to manage and mitigate. No, right? We agreed, 6:30. So that has been really crucial. And I will cue them, right? I will say, mama has a call at 8, right? You have a call at 9, or when they were doing school, right? Like you've got a 9 o'clock, a 10 o'clock, an 11 o'clock, a 1 o'clock, right? Like reminding them, and so that they would understand their role in helping it all work, right? So I say we're a team, right? And I need my team. I need us all to be, operating at our highest and best. And so that's what has worked for me, but prioritizing me, being clear on what I need in order to be able to give them what they need, right? And for our days to unfold the way they will unfold with as much love, light, ease, and grace as possible.
I love it.
Yeah.
What's inspiring you right now?
Oh my goodness. So I'm in the really creative mode right now, right? So I am being inspired by many different things. Visually, right? I'm working with a graphic designer. So her mind, right, is inspiring mine in some ways, because it's interesting how when you talk to somebody about an idea, how they interpret that, right? And what they do and how that creativity manifests, right? I read every day, right? All day long. Because the other thing about business is that it is an intellectual pursuit, right? And so I am right now being very intentional about seeking people I want to talk about love, life, ease, and grace about, right? So I'm picking up nuggets in really fascinating places of podcast guests I will have to chat with. So those things are inspiring me. I cook and bake all the time. So I have been inspired to try different and new things, right? Because we are eating at home every single day, all day long. Right. So even though my children will say, because I'll say variety, right? Variety is the key. And even though I have an expansive repertoire, you run out of stuff, right? So continuously, right? Kind of feeding the creativity on what we are eating and how we're spending our time. So I rigged, for example, a land volleyball set for our pool so that we could play volleyball in the pool, because we needed other ways to hang out in the pool.
I like it.
Yeah.
What accomplishment are you most proud of, and what's your biggest regret?
So of course, my children are my accomplishment in progress, right? As I said before, they are my greatest blessing and my greatest challenge, right? Really helping them become the best human beings they could be for this universe is, I'm committed to that. And I can honestly say I have no regrets. And I intend to continue to say that. And it's part of, like I said, I don't fit in boxes very neatly or very nicely, right? I am living the life of my dreams. And that, means there are battle scars and war wounds, but they are mine. They're mine. And so I cannot, and it's also how I came to the parenthood conclusion. I would have regretted not being a parent. And I knew that. And that's why I decided well, the heck with it. I'll just do this. And know that the luckiest man in the world would show up. And he has, or so it seems. So,
Yay.
yeah.
That's exciting.
It is exciting.
That's another podcast or
That's
another.
right. That's right. That's
It
a
might be
whole other
incorporated
discussion.
into my, that might be on the love pillar. He has
Okay.
actually been a great inspiration for me, and because he has always been so clear, he has challenged me to be clear, and so that has been really another gift. Yeah.
Good.
Love it. Okay, so this question I've been asking about what you're going to take with you moving forward into the new normal, I am going to switch that just a tad because I got an email, like an email list email from an author named Alan Dibb yesterday. And I loved how he rephrased it, that everyone keeps saying the new normal, but he said the new extraordinary. That we have this opportunity to invent what our lives will be. And so he's now calling it the new extraordinary. And I have decided I'm going to adopt that because I love it. It gives me goosebumps. I like that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm going to ask you. What are you taking from this that you're going to carry with you forward into our new extraordinary?
Well, my podcast and all of that is going to unfold, right? Like I have no idea all of the gifts that are going to come from that, right? So lovelighteasegrace.com, the podcast, the merchandise, and the grant program, right? Like the intention is that it will impact millions of lives, right? And, but for this pandemic, it may not have, occurred to me. Right. So I'm super jazzed about that.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to touch on or add?
Oh my goodness, no, this has been such a pleasure and such a privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love being in the company of such beautiful, wonderful women, especially. Glad and grateful to, share some of my story.
Does anybody else have any questions for Lisa before I wrap it all up?
Yeah.
Okay. So Lisa, you have a door prize for us.
I do. I will. It will be one of my goodies that are being created. I'll give you your choice once they're all done. But it'll say member of Love, Light, Ease, and Grace Brigade, because I'm creating a new army.
I love it.
A new set of warriors for Love, Light, Ease, and Grace.
Love it. Love it.
Okay,
wow.
So I don't know if you might end up hearing it then. I'm going to come on here and that's amazing, by the way. I love it too. I'm going to come on over here to this page, and sometimes it makes a really weird like applause sound. So if you hear that, that's why.
And I've got to plug in my device or I'm going to lose you because my battery is almost out, which is why I'm moving around. Okay.
Can you hear that? So exciting. The winner is Haley. Congratulations. To take those home. And I know you guys know how to connect, so you'll connect that way to take care of that. So again, thank you so much, Lisa, for your incredible knowledge, for being so authentic with us. I can't thank you enough for being vulnerable and authentic and allowing your emotions to come through, all right, as you talked about, and naming them that they are okay. So I want to really acknowledge you and say thank you for that. And of course, for meeting with us virtually today. How can people best connect with you to learn, if they want to learn more?
On Facebook, look for me either on my private page, Lisa Nutt, right? Lisa Nutt with 2 T's, or Lisa Nutt Realtor, either one, but I am there and happy to connect.
Fantastic. I'll make sure I also put all of those all the information and links in the comments or the information above. And if you want to find out more about what we're doing here at ReFashion Magazine or at Fleur de Lis Photography, please make sure to like and follow our pages and see our upcoming Meet series. and as well as all the replays. So you can still catch all of those and get all of those great pieces of information at our website, refashionmagazine.com, or we're also kicking off a 21-day challenge for finding your ideal client to help you move forward in your business. It's just something that I've learned and picked up as I've worked with headshot clients in the past. That starts June 1st. So reach out to me at jessica@fdlphoto.com to find out more. And thank you everyone again who joined us today. Please take care of yourself, stay healthy, and keep diving into your business during all of our social distancing.